All right. Drew, it's an absolute pleasure to have you in the Parrsitivity podcast today. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Adam?
No, good, good. Yeah, really well, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. And we connected previously and touched base and that kind of thing. And what I'll do is I'll just kind of run through some, like your background and kind of where you're at. So, your name's Drew Vernon. You're a marketing director for Tony's, and what you are the marketing director for Tony's, where you lead and work with schools, museums, libraries to promote screen-free education for children. Your help with Tony's has helped Tony's to become one of the most innovative education companies in 2021. Prior to that, you was working for Lego, and what kind of led you, into this industry and your story and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I've been a marketer for a while now. Went to business school for marketing and kind of came out just trying to learn the ropes. I went to Procter and Gamble, which is a great company that's known for marketing. Worked on some really big brands. Started on new product development, and I learned a lot. But after a few years of selling lotion and mascara, I wasn't naturally curious or enthusiastic about those products, and I wanted to do something more fun, and that's what led me to Lego, and now to Tony's.
No, it's awesome because it says you have like an MBA in brand product management. Is this something that you've always had an interest in? Like, did you always have an interest in being part of a business and branding and marketing and this kind of thing?
Yeah, as I was going up through school, I had kind of two passions. One was business and the other was psychology. And I always was just fascinated by the human mind and the reason why people do the things that they do, and in a business sense, why they purchase things and why they might want to take part in a brand. And that's kind of what fueled my passion for marketing that I took into graduate studies.
Yeah, no, I love that, and I think it's important, isn't it, to follow what you want to do in life and to try and figure that out. And I think a lot of people don't really know what they want to do, or have something in mind but don't kind of act on it because they're afraid of doing that thing, or stepping out of the comfort zone. Like, did you try different things in the past to kind of then figure out, okay, maybe this is what I want to do, or did you kind of like know when you was in, say, college or school, that kind of thing?
Yeah. Well, my dream company actually was Procter and Gamble, and I applied to it as an undergrad and didn't go anywhere. I graduated from college the same year as kind of the Great Recession and the financial crisis. I couldn't find a job in marketing and started out actually as a stockbroker. And I did that for a couple of years until going back to school. And I did that as a way to kind of break into a marketing specific role.
And that role as a stockbroker, so like I know that's quite a heavy pressurized job. And like, how did you find it? How did you kind of get to a point where you're like, this is great, but now was the time to kind of step away from this? What was that like, kind of leaving that? Because I know some people, they're staying in that and they're in that for the lot, for that's all they'd ever do.
Yeah. It didn't take me long to figure out that I wasn't meant to be a stockbroker. Actually, the first week on the job as a broker was, I can't remember if it was Lehman Brothers or Bear Stearns, but it was one of those guys went bankrupt, and everybody was kind of, hesitant about their portfolio. Everybody was like really kind of scared, and I didn't enjoy the pressure. I wanted to do something a little different.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, like with what you're doing is very, you're providing value to, children, families. And what I'll do is which I'm really grateful for, you sent me the product, that Tony's had, and it's the Tony's box. And I'll just get it up now. So it's this square box, and you tug on these ears, right? These ears just here, and you place one of the figurines on top. So these different ones that you can get, isn't there? There's lots of different themes, there's lots of different characters, there's Disney ones. So I don't know if you know which one I was getting, but I got the like
That
blue
looks like
character.
calm.
Yeah, it's a blue
Oh,
character,
yeah.
calm. So what does the calm do?
Yeah, so it might be helpful just to give a bit of a background. You
Yeah.
mentioned it. It's a speaker system for
Mm,
kids. They can control it all on their own, and then you put different figures. So the Calm one that you had, that's actually a mindfulness partnership that we did with them. It takes kids through meditations and breath work. Most of our characters are either from storybooks. You know, we have everybody from Dr. Seuss to Roald Dahl, Pete the Cat, you know, some favorite characters. And then we also do TV and movie characters as well. So Disney favorites and others.
no, it's awesome. And they tell a story, don't they, when you put them on and they communicate. I'm just gonna grab some of the other ones. So I got
Yeah, sure. Yeah, all the characters are magnetic, so they'll stay on the box, which is
mm,
great. It's designed so that young kids can use it on their own without a parent or an adult. And it's also, you know, basically a kid's first device. There's no screen, so there's not going to be that component where they're staring at something, but it's really just about the audio.
mm. I think that's really important, isn't it? Because I think a lot of time people will just give their kid a screen and they'll go to a restaurant, they'll sit there, and the kids are just kind of aimlessly watching a video and not really probably learning very much. And I think, with this device, you know, people are able to, allow their kids to learn something and not be,
Mhm.
glued to a screen. I mean, that's really important. And like you also said, like this elephant one. So it was like
Yeah, that's Elmer. Elmer the
oh,
patchwork elephant.
yeah. I think it's a storybook, isn't it? I think I've seen it's a storybook, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that one's about acceptance and diversity.
No, I love it. And there's the Grinch fans, there's the Grinch.
Yeah.
I think everyone knows who the Grinch is. And also, if you're into Disney, there's is it the Little Mermaid?
Yep, that's the Little Mermaid.
Oh, it's amazing. And how many figure do you say that there's quite a couple of hundred figurines? It seems to be like there's quite a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So we're actually a German company, started in 2016. So all the figures they did for the first few years were all German characters. We've been in the US for about 2.5 years. We launched in the UK in 2018 and the US in 2020. So we each kind of have our own characters depending on language and relevancy. Um, Globally, there's over 700. I think in the US, there's 150 or more. We're launching new ones every week, basically.
No, that's amazing. It just shows you that growth, doesn't it? And how much is taken off and how much of an impact it's having. And
Mhm.
also in the box, I got some headphones. So if kids want to, listen to, I suppose if they're in a restaurant or they want the audio going out, they can listen to it through the headphones.
Mhm.
You get stickers with it as well. You also got sent this like, is it a carry bag for all the things
That looks
inside?
like a carrying bag. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you're in the UK, correct?
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we actually have slightly different accessories even by market. So that's actually a carry case that we don't have in the US, but it looks like my British counterpart sent that
Yeah,
one out.
and some like stickers. Oh, there's a nice message on the back as well.
Oh.
So yeah, there's lots of nice things with like the Tony box and yeah, no, and I love the packaging as well, and I think it's something very special about it. Like it's very personalized, isn't it? Like
Mhm.
the box that I got had stickers, it's got stickers all over it, and it had a ribbon on. I just love the packaging and the branding with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's designed with kids in mind. It's really, it's great for us adults, but it's really about making like a magical moment and giving, an experience to a kid. This is going to open up their world. It's going to give them access to the world of stories and imagination. And I think that's a special thing. So
Mm.
that's kind of the focus there.
Yeah, no, like you mentioned, like stories, imagination. So, like, why would you say, like, storytelling and imagination, is important, not just for like, for adults, but for kids as well, like today.
Yeah, I think that the world is made of stories. The stories go back to our early ancestors, with cave writings, and communicating something through pictures and eventually words and sounds, and this is the audio version of that. But stories are important because they entertain us, but they also teach us things. And I like to talk about the hero's journey, which is the basic framework of a story, boiled down to what a kid can understand. It's basically a hero, a main character, has a challenge or something to overcome, and that they get to some sort of a goal or a reward. That's the basic framework of almost every story. And that's what we need to instill in our kids, I believe, so that they can learn how heroes overcame their challenges, so that they can learn how to overcome their own challenges and become the authors of their own stories.
No, I love that. And I think like it's really important, isn't it? Like for kids to see that. And I think when I was a child, I used to love watching, Disney, and reading and listening to like, Disney stories and kind of seeing that with not just Disney, but within like, stories and imagination. It's like that hero's journey, isn't it? That you see the person or that character go on that path and having, adversities happen and overcoming them and those situations. And I think that's, it's really important for kids to see that, isn't it? And see those stories shared.
I think so. And, a good story usually has the character that's not perfect, has flaws, makes mistakes. And it's figuring out what to do when you make the mistakes, how to get better and improve. Those are the stories that I think resonate most with us, because each of us, is on our own journey and making mistakes. And I think, realizing that's an important part of it. But I think it's a teaching moment ultimately.
Yeah, definitely. And like with this product, like why do you think like it's important in terms of childhood development and learning and that kind of thing? Because I think like kids need to be, obviously learning, but learning the right things and having the right materials. Like why do you think like, how it can help with, children's learning and development?
Yeah. I mean, number one, it's a platform, right? So anything that's audio can be delivered through a Tony box. So if that's, that song, stories, wiggle time, that's great. That's, audiobooks, that's great. Sleep time, winding kids down, that's great. Also just the fact that it's screen free. So we've just gone through, not too long ago, 2-3 years, we went through a global pandemic where the world shut down and went largely virtual and remote. And we started giving our kids screens at younger ages and for longer periods of time. And now that the world has, opened up again, we still have some of these bad habits where we're relying on screens too much and too young of ages. And that's what's entertaining our kids. The problem when you do that at young ages is it's too much. It overstimulates them, it entrances them, it causes behavioral problems, it causes social anxiety, and it doesn't teach as effectively as something that's trained on the sense of hearing and the sense of hearing alone.
Yeah, I think we definitely saw that during COVID, didn't we? And kind of like coming out of it, like a lot of kids were, using screens, they were having home learning, and a lot of, like you said, it's kind of like sensory overload if they're just staring at a screen. And plus their attention span's they're gonna switch off because they're not gonna be probably interested in what's happening and not really learning anything, from
Yeah.
just staring idle at a screen. And I think, this device and this product is like, really good for helping kids and learning. And also, them listening to the thing is going to create that imagination, isn't it, in their minds with, what is being told to them or whatever story is being played out.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. I think if you remove the visual stimulus, then it's one less distraction for the child, but it also, if they're listening to a story, for example, it puts the creative responsibility on them and their own imagination. And that's a creative muscle that will help them develop. So they'll be increasing their creative skills as well as their attention and focus skills.
What do you think makes the Tony box, unique and separate from other like toys and products and things that tell stories? Like,
I think it's the combination of the systems. So, the characters go on the top of the box. Um, let's face it, you can hear an audio story from a bunch of different ways. Amazon Alexa, tell me a story. You can keep it completely digital if you want, and that's fine if you just want an audio story. This keeps an element of physicality and tactile nature to the experience. So, kids love characters. They love things that they can hold, they can play with. They can actually role play with these if they want. That's a whole different play pattern, but it puts the control in their hands. Instead of saying, Alexa, play me a story, they have to do a physical act. They interact with the box, they play with it. And that's a more comprehensive development and entertainment tool because it relies on touch and sound.
Yeah, no, definitely. It definitely is important, isn't it? That interaction, that actual act of, getting the toy, placing it on there, touching it, and that interaction with it. Because the kids are, that's how they're kind of absorbing information, isn't it? They're interacting with the world, you know, and by getting involved with it, and they're taking in the toy and the environment. And I think also, which is good with that, if kids say have a favorite Disney movie, because I saw on Amazon they have like some Aladdin ones and some Disney
Mhm.
ones, and if they there's a particular toy or character they like, they can have that, and they can collect those toys as well, can't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of everything, all of the above. The collection is really nice to have these characters. We find that it's interesting to me. We have a very active fan community in the US. I think that the fan community in the UK is just as strong, but they display these. I've got my office here. They're not quite displayed for presentation, more for functionality, but in nurseries, this is a badge of pride of having a collection of Tonys, and it's something that kids love to collect and to display.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm trying to think of when I was a kid, I wanted to collect things, but I mean, I think back when I was a kid, it was like Pokemon cards and that kind of thing. But like there's so many different options, isn't there? And I suppose is Tony Box releasing like different characters or different like are they updating the characters and toys and things and different series over time?
Yeah, so this is going to be a little bit different for your British listeners versus your American listeners. But here in the States, we're launching a new figure almost every week. We're just about to launch a new sleep brand, which is a couple of our traditional Tonys. This is our Sleepy Sheep. We've got this has lullabies on it. Our Sleepy Bear has bedtime stories, and then we're actually launching a new Nightlight. So the same technology that goes in these can actually go in any form. So we launched, a plush doll. This is a rabbit that can go on the box. It does the same thing, tell stories. And so part of the Sleepy collection will have a nightlight that will also play audio content.
No, I love that, and it's like there's all these different figures, isn't there, and different things that help. So, like you said, like with sleep, and I think it's really important, that kids have this product because, like, a lot of kids sometimes struggle to sleep, don't they? And you mentioned like the night light, and some kids, I mean, even me, probably me now, I'm 28, don't like sometimes if it's like completely pitch black. So, having kids, have something that can kind of soothe them to sleep through either these stories and the calm and light. It's really really nice. And this is just something that it's popped in my head now. How do you kind of how does Tony Box get feedback from the product? Like, is it taking it into nurseries, taking it into schools? Like, how do they get feedback for what the kids think about it? Is that something that's difficult or?
No, I mean, you can gauge it, informally just by seeing the joy and happiness that it causes. You can get feedback, formally. I'm actually doing independent research right now that's showing the sleep benefits to the box, helping kids fall asleep faster, helping calm the bedtime routine, getting them off of screens. So we're testing that. And then we're also testing the effects to literacy, the fact that the first step to reading is listening to someone read. Well, that's something that you can do at a very young age, and now you can do it independently. So we're setting out to prove that this is actually helping kids learn faster, and it's helping teach them additional vocabulary. So it's a great educational tool in addition to the entertainment benefits.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important. Like you said, kids learning how to, listen, and that communication, and it goes hand in hand, doesn't it? Like you said, like with reading, and I think a lot of children, that's important to listen to taking information. So say they go, they can take that. So if they go to school, they're used to listening to the Tony Box device,
Mhm.
and they could then go and say listen to their parents or in schools, and it just kind of helps, doesn't it, with their development, as you said.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great, educational tool.
And is there like different colors as well? Because I know I've got the red one. I think you've got like a pinkish color or purple.
Yeah, it comes in about 6 different colors. I've got a purple one here. Comes in gray and green and blue, and pink and red.
No, that's awesome. Because I got the headphones with mine. Are they different colors, and are they in the US as well, or?
Yeah, the headphones will be the same colors to match the boxes.
Okay. No, it's great. And like and also like, do you have like a favorite figurine that goes on Tony Box? Do you have a favorite one?
Yeah, let's see
Favorite
if
thing?
I have them. Um
Looks like there's about
I'll be here.
51.
I really like a couple of them. I really like Cookie Monster from
Oh, nice.
Sesame Street. We worked, the thing about these characters is we're working with the best kind of content producers in the world. So for that one, we worked directly with Sesame Street,
Wow.
Sesame Workshop to create original content. So that was a
Wow.
great one. But yeah, I think the quality of these is great. That's probably the one I would name.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And like, what's it? I bet it's really nice to see that creative process from start to finish, and um, that kind of relationship with, say, Sesame Street or
Mhm.
Disney, like seeing the kind of start to finish, and what's that like? Kind of seeing that process.
I think it's really exciting. It's different for each license partner. Disney already has a well-established content portfolio. If we're going to do a Frozen Tony, then you can expect the songs from Frozen, and the story of Frozen is going to be what's told. In the case of Sesame Street or others, it's an original production using known characters, so that offers a little bit more creative freedom. But I think that's really something that we've just started to learn more about in terms of different types of content that can help educate and entertain kids.
What do you think there's any like challenges in making the product, or getting the product out there to start with? Was there any challenges and struggles with that? Because I know like anything starting out, it's very difficult.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of challenges. It's difficult to run a company and grow a company. I would say some of our competitors that lean more in just to the digital audio content can launch content faster. That's because they don't have a figure or a physical aspect to the business. We're creating actual products that we're shipping out. So that adds a little bit of complexity for us, just because it's both the content and the product. So marrying those two together, I would say, is something that we're doing a lot of and getting better at. But there's always going to be bumps along the way, just with different aspects of running two sides of the business.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that's how businesses grow, isn't it? And how we grow as people in life, through things like working out or struggles and things like that, and learning and kind of having that feedback, isn't it?
Mhm.
And like when you mentioned like you work for Lego as well, like what was that experience like also? Like, and do you have a favorite Lego series at all?
Mhm.
I know that you can answer that at a different time. I know,
Yeah.
but yeah, what was it like working for Lego?
Yeah, Lego is a great company. I was a fan ever since I was a kid. It was a dream of mine to work there. I had a great time there. It's obviously a beloved brand. Um, I spent my time trying to do new and different things. So one of the programs that I did was called Brick Names, where you could go in and type your child's name, and we'd make it out of Duplo bricks and ship it out to you for your child's nursery. That was kind of different. And then I also did a program with doctors, which was to promote daily play between parents and kids. So when a mom or a dad would take their toddler to a doctor's checkup, they would actually give them a prescription card and say, hey, you need to play with your kids for 15 minutes a day. And that was a very successful program that sparked inspiration in me to know that, like, when it's not just about selling a product, but actually about helping the child and helping the development process, that's a unique opportunity that I have now kind of dedicated my career, now that I've come over to Tony's. That's kind of the inspiration for that. So I think Lego is a great company to help inspire kids. I think that's what we're trying to do here at Tony's, and I commend all of the other companies that are doing the same.
Yeah, no, that's it. And like you mentioned, what I think is really important is, I mean, I don't have kids, but it's that one-to-one with the parents and the child, and giving that child the attention and
Mhm.
caring for their well-being, as you mentioned. Like you think, that 15 minutes, you know, during the say appointment is quite a big chunk of time, rather than just letting the kid just sit there and not really do anything. And I think, like, and in that interaction and interacting them, with them with Lego, or interacting with them in the Tony box, it's
Mhm.
all these kind of, experiences and interactions which the child needs attention, don't they?
Yeah, I think it really is just about providing tools to the kids and the training to the parents. How, do you play with your child? Do you have the right materials to do so? Like that, the great thing about, either Lego bricks or Tony Box is that it's a platform. It's something that you can build and take different elements and aspects to create a holistic play experience.
Yeah, most definitely. And like when I with Lego, do you have a favorite series with Lego that you like? I know there's a whole variety of different themes, like Harry Potter Lego, Harry Potter Star
Mhm.
Wars, Lego Star Wars. Like, do you have a set kind of favorite when you worked there, or growing up,
Yeah.
or anything like that?
My first set I got in 1989, so I don't know if that was before you were born. I was 6 years old. I got my first Lego set. It was actually Robin Hood and his merry men. I went through kind of a pirates phase, and then as I went to work there, obviously my interests are a little bit different. From a marketing perspective, I have a love for the preschool category because that's what I managed, Duplo. But as a builder, as a consumer, I really enjoy the modular buildings, the creator expert. I had the opportunity to build most of those. So that's my favorite as a builder.
No, that's awesome. And it's funny you said Robin Hood, because I'm from Nottingham
Oh,
originally. So I,
that's
I'm so I'm from that city in the UK.
okay.
And we have, I won't go into too much detail, but we have like tours and Robin Hood kind of castle kind of thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, but no, it's pretty cool choice. I liked, I think as a kid, I still like now, like Lego Star Wars.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great one too.
Yeah. And I had the video games and that kind of thing, but they're very, long. Yeah, I think they redid a new one, didn't they? But it's like all the Star Wars games into one. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Lego is amazing, and the value of it's gone up quite a lot as well.
Yeah, I think I left Lego right around the beginning of COVID. So I just kind of saw an outsider's view of their COVID response. But I think they benefited greatly from, the world shutting down. Everybody was going out. We were still trying to launch here in the States during COVID for, Tony's. But Lego, had everything in place for lockdown. Everybody was rushing to get puzzles. Everybody wanted Lego sets, and so I think that they've done extremely well in the last 3 years.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing experience, isn't it? Because I imagine you learn so much working for that company, and you can take people say to me, you can take things from previous experiences to the next thing,
Mhm.
and we're constantly learning and transferring. You can transfer your skills from that position to this as well.
Yeah, everything is a learning experience, and you take category learnings from being in the toy category, but you can also take kind of organizational learnings. And so, Tony's now is getting a lot bigger very quickly. And so I'm drawing upon my Lego experience, my P&G experience in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, no, it's great, and I think it just shows you that continuous process of growth, doesn't it? And learning new things and jumping into different situations. And you're providing value to kids and families, and doing something you love and enjoy. And I think that's something that everyone should strive to do, isn't it? Because then it doesn't really feel like work, I imagine, if you're doing something that you're passionate about.
Mhm. Yeah, I am fortunate because I can do something that I'm passionate about that happens to benefit kids, which are the future generations of the world. Like, and that's kind of my other main theme that I come back to, is that the world right now is just like kind of a mess in a lot of ways. And there are environmental challenges and political challenges and health challenges. And those are all the things that we're passing down to our kids. The least that we can do for them is teach them not what to do, but how to think and how to solve problems. And that's better than anything that we can give them, given the fact that they're going to inherit a lot of these problems that we inherited and that have been, going on in the world.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think, as you mentioned, lots of things are happening in the world, and we kind of pass on, things to them, and they have to deal with, the next things that are happening. And I think, like you said, teaching kids how to think and how to communicate and how to listen, effectively is how, we move things forward in the right direction. I think, what you said. And this device can help kids to do that.
Yeah.
And also, like, why do you think, like, the creative process is important for kids? Because I think, like, a lot of kids, like, there's different toys what I grew up, like Play-Doh, Lego, Connects,
Hmm.
and it kind of just like forms. I think it helps our minds to kind of grow, and it kind of forms your identity a little bit. Do you think, like, why that creative process is important, especially even with Tony Box?
Yeah, I think that the creative process is imperative. And I think it's taken me a long time to kind of learn it myself. I feel like I'm starting to get a grasp on it. The earlier we can give it to our kids, the better. I think that creativity, at least, I don't know, maybe nuances between British English and American English, but where I'm from, creativity is sometimes thought of as like a kid who finger paints or creates something that is imaginative, and that's a type of creativity. I like to think of creativity as the act of creating something. So it might not be flowery and colorful and vibrant, and all of those things that we associate with creativity may or may not be part of creativity. The importance of creativity to me is, can I make something that didn't exist that now does? And does it have a purpose, whether it's to inspire someone else or to solve a problem or to make a change? That's the process of creativity, of creating things, that we need to teach our kids.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, and I think, like you said, that creativity, creating something that what wasn't there before is now, through that through that creation of that thing, whether that be, say content, or creating, like like a figure or a toy, and kind of communicating and adding that value, isn't it, would you say? Because my girlfriend, she makes jewelry, and
Mhm.
she gets, like earrings and bracelets and that kind of thing. And to cut a long story short, someone at my work purchased one of her items, and they were put together, handmade. I gave it to my colleague at work. My colleague at work came in, and she was happy with what was created. So it kind of, like, it's that what you just said. you kind of see.
Yeah, exactly. And artists, a lot of times we talk about like the role of art in creativity, and like they kind of go hand in hand, like where I talk about creating something that didn't exist to solve a problem. That's like a very businessy way to say it. And that's not to diminish or to excuse like all of the creators who are creating art and creating things for different purposes. So I think that when I talk about solving a problem, I don't always mean like a leaky pipe. It just means like doing something that didn't exist and it now does.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. I completely understand. It's like you said, it's important in business as well, isn't it? And that businesses do that, because I think that's how things get put in place, isn't it? There's this vision of what we want to have, and this is
Mhm.
what we're doing to create it, to make it materialize.
Right.
And like with like Tony's box, like do you see it kind of getting bigger, and where do you think like the kind of goal is with it?
Yeah. The Tony box is a universally applicable tool for kids. And not to say that every child is going to have a Tony box versus another item that they choose. There might be some preference, and maybe they are fine with having an Alexa and keeping the experience digital. But storytelling is a fundamental aspect of life, and learning to read and learning about the world is a fundamental aspect of childhood. And the Tony box helps with both of those things. And so I see this growing. We're growing rapidly right now. I dare say faster than we can keep up with. I think that it will continue to grow at a rapid pace just due to the nature of and the value of the tool.
And with Tony Box, like, is it used, would you say, like in schools? Is it being like trialed in, I mean, in the US, or in
Mhm.
like, I know you say preschool, but like, like nurseries or stuff like that?
Yeah, so our main kind of business objective is to sell these to parents for kids to use in their bedrooms and at home. But I'm passionate about the education side, so I actually started the education side of Tony's USA. We put these in over 10,000 classrooms, pre-Ks, kindergartens. We're starting to get a lot of interest from libraries as well. You can actually check this out as a multimedia item. So I've worked with some state governments, state of Delaware as one example. We put Tony boxes into every public library in the state, and we're starting to expand there as well.
Oh, it's awesome, and it just shows you, like that growth with the product. And like, you think of libraries and schools, lots of people go into these places, and then they can tell their friends and families as well. And that's how it kind of rolls around, isn't it? People get they hear about it through people going in there and seeing it, and then
Mhm.
talking about it, and then looking it up. And like, also, like, do you have any kind of like role models or mentors in life, whether that's professionally or personally, like growing up or even now?
Yeah, I mean, I should probably have like a short list. I take a lot of inspiration from a business perspective from Seth Godin. He's got a popular blog and podcast. He seems, he's done marketing for decades. He's a voice that I listen to. I think just in terms of like leadership, I look to like Ernest Shackleton, leading the Antarctic voyage down in the early 20th century. I think that's a fascinating story. And I could think of others. I had role models and teachers growing up that kind of collectively helped shape who I turned out to be or who I'm becoming.
Yeah, and I think it's important, isn't it, you to have those kind of role models or mentors, so you can kind of look up to them and learn from them as well, isn't it?
Yeah, because I think there should be a premium on experience and not strict age, but with age often comes tenure and exposure to things. And so generally older generations, they've gone through a lot of what we've gone through, and they're happy to share it if they just want somebody, or they just need somebody to ask. And that goes back to like our attention or lack of attention, is like, when's the last time we like sat down with somebody and just ask them about their experience. I think that's a great
Mm,
learning opportunity.
mm. Yeah, definitely, because they have like a different perspective, don't they, on things, or they can share, their thoughts on that thing. And I think that's really important, to have that, we have to sit down and see other people's, take on things as well, and learn from other people. And like, also, do you have any favorite books at all, or any books in mind, or any books that
Uh,
you're reading?
in a like a business sense, or
Completely any. I mean, any few.
I read a lot of nonfiction. I'm trying to read more fiction, but I like the Heath brothers. Made to Stick, The Power of Moments, Switch. Those are all great. I like Malcolm Gladwell, Seth Godin, Dan Ariely, behavioral economist. Thinking Fast and Slow. Daniel Kahneman was a great one. Um, I'm trying to learn more about like the value of like children's books, because they take a lot of the same ideas and principles, but they make it simpler. And so one of my favorite books actually is The Sneetches by Dr. Seuss, which I just find an immense amount of value and intrigue. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that story, but I think it's a social commentary. I think it actually teaches a lot about marketing and business. And that's a much different genre than one of these giant academic books.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's good to have that variety of different books, isn't it? And it shows you how we can still kind of learn, from, children's books, like you said, Dr. Seuss, and a lot of these books have sometimes got morals in, haven't they?
Mhm.
And things like that. Because do you have a favorite? Would you say Sneetches is your favorite Dr. Seuss book, or?
Yeah, I'd say that's my favorite. But I also love all the other classics as well.
Yeah, because I was listening to a podcast actually, and this rapper in America called Danny Brown, he said he reads Dr. Seuss, and he's like, I think he said he's 40 and he still reads Dr. Seuss, and I think he said he quite likes is it Green Eggs and Ham, Green Eggs
Okay.
and Ham, is that
Yeah, no,
quite
that's
good?
a great
Yeah,
one too.
yeah,
That's and maybe I look into these too much, but I actually I see a lot of like meaning.
yeah.
When you work in children's literature, you probably think about it more than other folks, but they're all lessons to teach kids, and do so in a fun and illustrative way, I think is a great thing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And like, what advice would you like say give to people who are wanting to kind of like follow, like their dream, or figure out what they want to do? Like, what would you kind of like say, to people who trying to get through life, and they're just trying to figure out, what they want to do, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's a massive question that I could probably go on and on about. My dream was to start a business. I actually started a business when I was at Lego. Started a state licensed childcare, and it was just too much. I was working at Lego, a full-time job, trying to manage a staff of 10 people and make a business successful, and ended up getting over my head and selling the business. But that really just taught me that you have to start small. If your dream is this big grandiose vision, like what's the first step to that? Like what's the step that you can take today? And for me, I ended up coming to Tony's, and I feel like I am an entrepreneur within this organization. So it's worked for me because I get to kind of fulfill that itch, but I can do it in a way where I didn't have to, make payroll and pay the rent. And like, it's very hard to be an entrepreneur with no like safety net. But I think coming back to more general advice would be have the vision, have the end goal, but work on day one, work on step one, and see if you can go from there.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that's really important, to have that, go step one, and you have to take that first step, don't you? And have that vision in place, to get the ball moving, so to speak, and to take action on it. Because as you said, like sometimes we try things, and like you mentioned, you had that previous company that you set up, but it's okay to say, this is, too much, and to
Mhm.
navigate into something else. And that's all like lessons, isn't it? And learning, um in even trying something as well. And I think it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to, for things not to work out,
Mhm.
because there's, like as you said, there's plenty of learning, and you've navigated into, a different direction.
Yeah, and I think that all takes us back to the creative process, which is, the creative process, the creativity is the act of creating something that doesn't exist that can exist. And so the first step to creating something is to think of it in your mind. That's like the staging area. Like, what does this thing look like in my mind? And then that process from there is, well, how do I take this from my head to actually being and existing in the world? And that starts with taking that first step. Like, how do you bring that from your head? Your first step might be to write it down on a piece of paper. Your idea is now, a splotch of ink, and that's the first step into becoming what you want it to be. But everything has to lead into a more advanced state of the creation. And I think, like you said, making mistakes, learning along the way, that's all part of the process.
Mm. Yeah, no, no, most definitely. No, I love what I love what you said, and I think like you said, taking that thing, from our imagination, from what's going on our minds, and putting it down, even if it's writing it down on paper or on a digital format or whatever, and putting, building on that thing is important,
Mhm.
and that's how I think that's how a lot of successful people start out, isn't it? I don't know who it was. They said they wrote something down on a napkin or something like that, or the business plan on a napkin, or you have to put it down somewhere. And where can people find, like, your social media, your content? Where can they connect with you? Where can people find Tony Box as well to purchase?
Yeah, so me personally, the best place to find me is probably on LinkedIn. Uh, and you can learn more about our company on tonys.com, tonies.com. You can follow us on Instagram. We've got a US channel at tonys.us. We've got a UK one as well. I'm trying to think. There's also when it comes specifically to Tony's, we have a very active Facebook community group. Different people sharing different ways that they use the Tony Box. We actually have a teacher specific one as well, Tony's for Teachers, and that's great for educators who are trying to learn how to use Tony Boxes in the classroom.
No, that's awesome. No, it's really great, what Tony Box is doing and helping, children in their learning and development and creativity. And
Mhm.
I just want to say, it's a pleasure having you on the podcast, Drew, and you sharing your experience and passion for, creativity and the Tony Box product, and and your skills and experience that you're bringing to this to help, the future generation. I think it's really great, and I wish you continued success, and I wish Tony Box continued success, and thank you for the Tony Box product that was sent out to me. I'll promote, and put out the Tony Box and what you're doing as well.
That sounds great. Yeah, it's my pleasure. I enjoyed the conversation, and I've really enjoyed meeting you, Adam.
No, you're welcome. You too, and hope everyone enjoys this, and take care.